Yes, go live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
My name's Jared. This
Hi, Jared.
is a project collaborating with the lovely Thea and the wonderful Ian, who I have come to know through this wonderful hobby at various stages in my career, because this is what I am so passionate about. I see it as this epic arc. And it's come to this point where I really want to have conversations that are important within the role playing community, because I think we just need to have those conversations. And I know that every time I hang out with these beautiful people, in the little snippets we get around conventions and stuff when we get to hang out, we just immediately talk about the game, and how we can share that information. And that's what I want to do, is just create this platform. So thank you so much to my wonderful co-hosts and project
That's
collaborators. Thea, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. I am Thea, also known as OMGM. I am a DM and GM. Get it? OMGM. That's pretty much the response I get. Thank
The game,
you.
the game,
Cute.
yeah,
Yeah.
the game Master
The
Chef.
game.
Whoa.
Hey, you know what? I think we are on point with our punnerisms.
Mhm.
I am a DM
Sorry, everyone. It's going
predominantly.
to continue all night. Yeah.
Consider yourself warned. Yeah, so I'm a
Yep.
DM. I run most of my games online at the moment, but I do run a few in person at some sort of at Collecticon type things, which we'll talk about. Look at the beautiful T-shirt, but also at some other places. I also stream, so if anyone has seen me streaming, I apologise. But the tech troubles I normally have are solved because we have excellent people who running them, i.e., not me. Um, I've been DMing since you had to colour in the dice with a crayon, which is probably too many years ago to
Yes.
talk about. And
Yes.
there have been a couple of long breaks in between. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to be part of this project. We're probably going to talk a bit later about why I think it's important, but I just love hanging out online. I know that's not super cool, or maybe it is these days, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I love hanging out with people online. I love chatting, I love streaming, so I'm super excited to be part of this project.
So,
So away.
Ian, take it away.
Will do. Thank you, Jared, for coming up with this idea, and which has been kind of we've discussed for a long time, and not just us. There's been other people and you do this around conventions, you do this around with other gamers,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for this idea, and that we get a chance to actually start conversing about the things that are important. I'm really keen to do this as a long time gamer for not quite as long since you could color in the dice, but I do remember that. But I have not stopped playing for over 30 years now, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. And absolutely love role playing, and more than anything, just seeing how valuable it is in everyday life, and the importance that it can actually have in just bringing people together. Um, Bringing play to the fore in every part of our society is so important. It's only barely being understood, the value of play. I'm not going to platform it up too much right now. I'm just so excited we can do this and just raise awareness and talk RPGs to our heart's content. So that's a bit about me. I'm looking forward to this, and I have no idea where we're going to start now. So let's give it a
It's
go.
awesome. It's
Ah,
awesome.
Yeah, Jared, what do you think's next?
yeah.
Everything, absolutely everything.
I like that. Let's start small, with a fairly narrow scope, and build from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the one thing I took from just hearing again how we've all come to a different place, and or come from different places in terms of how long we've been playing, what hobbies, where we started in terms of from OG Redbox with the crayon, which I recently acquired a copy of,
Oh, that's
nearly
amazing.
complete,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
awesome.
That is so amazing.
In what did you start with? What edition?
I started
Mm.
with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, as it was called, first edition, so
Mm,
mid 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Yeah.
In 2 years it'll be 30 years, 40 years.
How scary is
Yeah.
that when you think about,
Because
the
that was
90s?
before I was born. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's it. Stream's
Which is just
done.
wonderful.
It's been fun.
That's
Thanks,
it.
everyone. I'm out.
Good night.
But,
Yeah.
dear.
Yeah.
That's-
First
No.
edition.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there you
How
go.
about you guys?
Yeah. So I was recently telling one of my newly acquired players,
Ooh.
acquired like they are mine to herd and to care for.
And we're
Is
not
how
saying they
is
were
how I see my
kidnapped.
players.
They were not kidnapped.
Because
They're
because
consenting.
rocks will fall and I protect. But no, I just happened to like listen to a podcast and these guys did a D&D episode. The Yogscast
Oh,
for those who
cool.
know. And then I was working with someone who introduced me to that podcast who was also enthusiastic about D&D. He had third edition books. We went to his place one evening with one random friend of his and we fumbled through it. The friend who'd never played wanted to be a gargoyle. The other guy had an incredible paladin that he had played for many years with, and I was like, all right, let's DM, and that was it. And we kind of fumbled through it for a couple of hours, and that was it. And then didn't play for a while. Found some friends from high school who I should have been playing with since high school, and convinced them to come over. And I had been outside a game store. I was probably like, I want to say like 18. Like I was pretty sure I was out of high school when I started playing. And at that point, I was outside a game store. I had a little bit of money, and I was like, what am I going to do? All right, I'll get it. And I don't know, I ummed and ahed because I hadn't organized anybody to play with, but I committed. And then 10 whatever years later, however many, 13 years later now, it's been a journey. And I've played fourth, third, and then a bunch of different other systems, which I'm so grateful for as well. So I'm thankful for D&D for being that, obviously being that exposure, which is going to be the exposure for many, many people. But on the show, I do want to talk other roleplay systems from Shadowrun to Alien roleplay. Free
Lasers
RPG
and
Day has been the
feelings.
most amazing thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just any like one-page RPG, anything you can get your hand on, make it up. Just have a D6 or just play make-believe. Get into it, play it, enjoy it, and share it with people in your life. Because I was talking to, I'm rambling, but I was talking to just a customer who saw a D20 on my screen at work on my computer, and was a surfer dude. You wouldn't have thought couldn't have picked it from anyone who could have played. And he was like, man, we used to be like super secret about it, like back in the day when we played. We haven't played with those for ages. And if you are tuned in, my friend, I hope your name was Chase. I did say come check it out. If you are here, my dude, thank you so much for being so enthusiastic and hearing us. And we just rambled in the afternoon. So that's it. You don't know who could play. I used to say to my colleagues, oh, it's a board game night. And now you just embrace it. So
Yeah.
please be part of this community if you're not.
I think that's really interesting because I skydived for a number of years, did comp and everything, and I came across a group of skydivers who were mad into D&D, which you wouldn't expect. Like, these are people, adventure sports, hard partying kind of people, and they love D&D. Like, this guy was like, if you picture the stereotypical skydiver, not quite Point Break, but, you know, roll it into the 2000s. And he was super excited because he was playing, I think it was this half-elf cleric. Like, you would not have picked this. But yeah, the people that play these days, and probably always, but more visibly these days, from everywhere. And I think you're right. It's part of why it's so important to talk about it, because I think some of those stereotypes do still persist, and some of those stereotypes can put people off. You know, if you don't see yourself represented, which is why another reason why I think this channel and this show is so important. If you don't see yourself as part of that community, or you don't see yourself represented in that community, then you're probably not going to feel comfortable joining it. And I think it's really important people feel comfortable, because I think, as you said, Ian, it can be so good for so many people. Yeah, that's my.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys started with the story, because I just said how long it was playing. I thought, we're here talking about group storytelling, and I'm just like, yeah, I played for first edition.
It's a story.
So briefly, I like, just hearing about your first experience there, because it's funny because I started off with game books, like Choose Your Own Adventure just blew my
Fantasy
mind.
Yes!
Flight,
Oh
Choose Your
my gosh!
Adventures.
We have to
Fighting
talk about
Fantasy was
Choose
the
Your Own
one that got me
Adventures.
into.
Yes.
That was the one, and because also
Yeah.
reading around, this was in primary school. This was
Yeah.
like The Hobbit first, and Lord of the Rings, and then fantasy books that started coming in from there. But Fighting Fantasy blew my mind. And then there were other ones like Dragon Warriors, I think, and there was a couple of others. So anyway, met some friends in high school. They had the red box,
Yes.
but we didn't play that. Funnily enough, we played Dragonlance because that was the hot, cool,
Yep.
the massive
Exotic.
thing in the 80s.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
huge,
yeah.
and of course, it's just been
Are you
re-released, which is
excited for
amazing.
it to come back?
Yeah, in a weird, it's like it's so weird because they're actually going back to the very same war, but looking at it from a different perspective, which I thought this is really interesting. So anyway,
I know
anyway,
nothing about it, so
yeah,
we'll chat about that sometime if you.
Yeah.
we'll definitely chat about that sometime because I got the special artwork one copy, and I'm just looking at it now. But
we should do a review of that. That would be cool.
maybe me too.
Yeah.
But we started that, and I played a red-robed wizard named Doria, I think it was, and just like what you can do with this, and this just with this group of friends from high school, and that's actually I made a social group of friends through that. And over the years, it wasn't really talked about. Like you said, it was something my parents were very happy eventually when they realized it wasn't devil worship, like the satanic panic crap that was going on. But my mum particularly, I remember her saying, we know where he is. He's off the streets. He's with friends. They're a nice group of boys and all that kind of thing.
Boy.
And it was funny. Yeah. It would, but it definitely has exploded in the last, definitely the last 10 to 15 years. And you said about inclusion has started to really explode in a wonderful way to show a whole different array of ways of playing it. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is coming from an age where they had to put ads on TV. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? So, you know.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely it's been interpreted in so many different ways, and I think one of my favorite things about being passionate about the hobby and like discuss or like talking to someone about it for the first time is it's always fun to ask the question like, what do you know about D&D, or where have you seen it? And it's going to be interesting if it's I've seen it on Stranger Things, Community, any of those things. And it's quite interesting that they've got their exposure, or they go, oh, that's a board game, right? Because if you just looked at it and you were passing by, you wouldn't know it any other way.
That's a question. Sorry for jumping in. I was going to say, you said board game. How did you describe it to other people?
Well, that's exactly it. I always define it as a collaborative storytelling experience, and nothing more than that, really. Because again, we could literally just start role playing now. We could all just improvise and create characters, but does that mean we're playing a role playing game? Are there consequences or challenges or skills or anything that we would need to interpret? Or is it like how I ever first like got into role playing was on a forum role play? So not even like a face-to-face tabletop. It would be someone says, I have this concept, this is my world, these are the parameters and the kinds of things that we would do and what you're doing. And then you would create a bio and you'd post it, and they would say yes or no, and we could change this or do that. And I just remember vividly, I was in a mutant, like kind of semi-apocalyptic, but there was like some civilization, and then there was the wilderness, kind of like Cyberpunk 2077, I guess. And in the wilderness, it was very, completely different. And I played like a vampiric kind of dude, and we did gun running and stuff.
Yeah, nice.
So, yeah, and it's like, it's not playing a role-playing game, because there's no consequences necessarily from the choices you make, because you have to choose the outcome. And it's interesting when you're collaborating via post by post,
Yeah.
is I would pitch. Let's say we were in a classroom because the high school stuff was
Yeah.
pretty popular for various reasons,
Yeah.
and it would be like, oh, we're in the cafeteria, and I'm walking through, and I see you with the cheerleaders and Ian with the jocks, and I'm like, oh man, dude, like I know them, I've grown up with them, but we've fallen apart. Like, who do I go and interact with? So I would go and interact with you for some reason, and then you would say what happened collaboratively. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Interesting.
it comes out, but there's no necessarily like, I think then we obviously introduce rules, and
Mm.
most rules for most role-playing games are conflict and combat resolution,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For
How it
sure.
started off anyway, it was
There
more
are
like that.
obviously
Mm.
exceptions to the rule,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
chainmail, the
Yeah.
OG, what
Yeah.
they've originally published was from combat.
Yeah.
It was brought up through rules, and the story was
Mm.
put on top, and now the
Yeah.
story is more important, I think.
Yeah.
So that's something we should,
Should look at. It's actually really
appreciate.
interesting
Yeah.
because I used to play BattleTech as well, which is kind of in the
Oh
tradition
my
of
god.
chainmail. It's that
Yeah.
strategic tabletop, much more about the miniatures. And I think it's really interesting to see how we've got it. If there's a difference between that kind of role play, because I know some people that get super into the lore of BattleTech. I actually, and this is an aside, but I will get back on track. There was like a live action. It was built as like a 3D gaming place where you would go and you would get into the pod that was the battle mech and play a video
Oh,
game.
cool.
Anyway, that was cool. But I just wanted to share it because that was super cool. But yeah, playing the tabletop, it's still a tabletop game, but it's not a role playing game. And
Yeah.
I think the line can be a little bit blurred sometimes, and I think that's a good thing.
That's a good point because of
Yeah.
the nature of it came from war games,
Yeah.
like originally.
Yeah.
But it deliberately, I mean, I could see, I think with Gygax and Arnson way back in the day, there was a deliberate, because there was the whole trippy 60s thing where everyone got into Lord of the Rings again, which was a thing. And they
Yeah.
wanted the more story. They wanted to
Yeah.
have, and we want to play as these characters. We want to be,
Yeah.
it was the best decision ever. So it's like,
Yeah.
and I don't think it was until I mean, like in the 80s, there were all these different kinds. I love when you said Battletech because I just remember there was this. This is wonderful to talk about this in the time before internet, because and the time
Yeah.
before devices and mobile phone and all that. Play by mail was a thing where you'd send through your notes to someone in the post,
Wow.
and you had to wait for it to come back to you. I didn't actually get to do that, but I still remember I was into role playing
Yeah.
games, and there was an organization called Military Simulations, which was particularly based on war games,
I
but
remember.
role playing games were brought into this, and it was
Yeah.
all mail. They'd send you the catalog with all the different game things you could buy and miniatures and you name it. I'm like, oh, what is this? And it was like games like I'm trying to even think, like Tunnels and Trolls was another one, which was a completely D&D ripoff.
Yeah.
Rune
Yep.
Quest was out there, but I never got to play that.
Yeah. I never played
Roll
Rune
Master
Quest.
was another one, which
Yeah.
had D100s for everything, which was exhausting, and
Wow.
tables everywhere. But then
Yeah.
there were just fun ones, which I think started to, things really shifted in like the 1990s with things like Werewolf and Vampire
Yeah,
that came out.
Vampire. I remember we started playing Vampire. I'm just noticing we've got
Yeah.
ISAU actually made up their own setting when they were 13. So talk about some
Yeah.
Oh,
collaborative and
sweet.
I'm
inspiring
just
creativity.
heading to the chat
Yeah,
now. That's pretty.
it's amazing.
And I just said I love system thinking, and like that's why
Yeah.
the D&D for me is amazing because I like to just create stuff out of mush basically. That's how I see my imagination, just
That's
mush.
Mush is going to be my next BBEG. It's a homebrew.
But yeah, like I like to do what I now call stars and wishes, which is kind of like giving props. Shout out to Dreaded GM, who I watched do that at the end of one of his sessions, and I thank you for that tool. It basically, and then I've come across another version of it called stars and wishes, and people get to say what they appreciated at the end of a game. And it's just always a nice way to polish off a game. Just a little thing that you guys can add to your game. Dreaded GM in the man.
Yeah.
That was a random thing, but yeah.
No, it's no random
when you
things.
thinking when you're a system thinker like that, and when you get into DMing, I've seen a lot of people say once you've GM'd or run a game, you are a game designer in a way. Whether you're just putting the blocks together, like isn't that a lot of, and I'm not trying to simplify game design, please don't take this out of context.
Don't
Is
at me.
game design not taking stuff that is in software and
Yeah.
taking the mush and shaping it into 3D models and putting it together, or taking ones that someone else has created and making it your own thing? And there's a library of all of these models and, you know,
Yeah,
people and
amazing
characters
stuff.
and gun models and stuff. And you put that together and then you publish it in a way that is a repeatable thing for someone to enjoy through a medium. D&D
Yeah.
is not repeatable. Role-playing games
Yeah.
are not consistently repeatable. And
No,
that's the
that's right.
absolute magic sauce about it all.
Yeah.
Is it is episodic and incredible and highs and lows like your favorite TV series. But it is also personal because it's we did this, I did this, they
Yep.
did this.
Yeah.
And it happens in real time. And
That
it is just this organic, slightly forethought by one individual railroad, just insane railroad experience. And I don't mean railroad
never-
roleplay.
Yeah,
but it's,
once you're on
it's
the
a
ride,
wild
you
ride.
that actually brings up a
A
really
discussion
interesting
for another
point.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brings up a
But
point
yeah,
I wanted
you
to
design-
talk about.
You're definitely designing your world.
Your world.
At least.
Well, this is the thing. Sorry to cut you off. We'll get better at this, guys. Promise. We will.
Yeah, we'll find our rhythm.
Yeah.
We're learning. Yeah.
But
That was
one of
exciting.
the point you just brought up about sort of putting so much of yourself into the game, that's actually one of the reasons why I thought it was really important to be part of this social pillar, right? To be part of this project. And I think it's the fact that we need a platform. I'm sure there's lots of platforms out there, but I think we need more platforms where people can talk about the way they play games, and we can talk about how vulnerable people can get and how to create a safe and healthy kind of approach to gameplay, you know?
Yep.
But like if you've got a
Yep.
character that you've put your heart and soul into, and maybe you're exploring parts of yourself that you don't feel safe exploring anywhere else, that is a huge amount of emotional investment and a huge amount of vulnerability that you're bringing to that gaming table. And I think it's really important to kind of articulate and really bring to the surface that the ability to recognize that, and a language to talk about that, and a way for people to feel comfortable and see role modeled expressing their needs and setting boundaries. Because I think that's super important if you are going to put so much of yourself into a game. Not that everyone's going to do that, right? Some people, this is trash can. It is my, Eladrin, dropped out of high school, rolled up the stats, and I just want to see what happens. But even then, you can end up, which maybe that's me. But even sometimes you can end up being in a really surprisingly vulnerable space without realizing it. Whether you're a player or a GM, you know, stuff can come up. So yeah, that's what I want us to talk about sometimes. Not all the time, because who needs all heavy stuff all the time? But sometimes I'd really like us to talk about that, you know, and what it means to you, and times maybe when you've been vulnerable or been caught off guard. I consistently still get caught off guard when I'm not expecting one of my players to suddenly fall for one of my NPCs, and I'm like, oh, this was a little more than I anticipated.
I'm deliberately creating characters that I know that a couple of my players are just gonna fall for. I can't introduce an NPC.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like almost physically impossible.
Yeah. I wish I could have NPCs that were not horrible people. That seems to be my default. They care about
We're
stuff.
operating on different frequencies.
Yeah, I need to learn from you, I think.
This
maybe
is vital. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's a defense actually as well, because I think as a female DM, female identifying, she, her pronouns, all that, I think that there can be things which perhaps would not be as challenging for a cis male. And I'm not, making broad generalizations, but it is a question I think about, because a lot of my players are all guys. Like, I have a lot of all-male groups, and I love them, and they are wonderful. But yeah, if they're suddenly flirting with an NPC, I'm like, ooh, how comfortable am I with this? And with the guys that I trust and I love, 100% I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But if it's the first time you've played with people, it's that whole why session zero and setting boundaries and setting rules is super, super important, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting when you get those moments.
I love that something called Session Zero appeared in the last 10 years, because I don't recall it ever before, and I'm just the understanding
I just was there one day. One day,
Yeah.
somebody said we'd do this thing, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Such a good idea.
I'm just preparing the whole idea of not just not just setting up, so you've got a chance to introduce, here's the world, and here's some of the, this is the kind of style of game that you want to play. How do you guys want to play? How do you want to be part of this? Because I'm so excited about it. How do you, how do you resonate? Here's some tropes that you could get involved in. What one appeals to you? All that crap. All that crap. The whole, that side of it and the storytelling side of it and the fun is one thing. I'm so glad you want to talk about the safe space creation side of things, which I think unconsciously,
I'll just quickly say, I had a feeling this, like, I'm so glad, because like this was again like one of the core pillars of what we were building with the social pillar is
with the pillar.
The social pillar. Yeah.
Exactly. Is, I think, I really want to, I can see us publishing like, some PDFs and stuff that like just some material, get it out there. Obviously we're going to like clip this and put it into some nice digestible content, because we want this to be shareable. We want it to be like out there. We want to have responsible safe gaming experiences across the board for everyone. It's something that we're all going to be passionate about. We've all got our own collaborative thing. I've put my own money into printing a whole thing of what you would get of business cards, like let's say 500 business cards, and I keep handing them out at conventions with the X card system on it. So I've made the effort, because I want to make sure that the conventions I'm overseeing, that I'm organizing, that people aren't necessarily paying for, but the sponsors are involved with, that there is a degree of measure in place. So if somebody has an off experience, at least we've tried, we've thought about it, and we have considered that there is exactly what you guys are saying. Sorry, I cut off Ian.
No,
that's exactly the X card and the and other tools that
so important.
Not just the tools that there are, and the way that you engage people, the way that you listen and look out. We'll be talking also, I think, at one point about those, and about how experience as a DM shapes how you then approach new groups, and if this can also lead into the whole idea of why there's a need for professional DMs, why there's a need for this to be taken seriously as some way to possibly involve therapy, possibly involve for just creating safe spaces for people who've gone through trauma.
And being prepared
even
for
just
that.
every day for groups of people, and being prepared for it. And just like, if this is actually could be groups of people in an organization that you want to team build, there could be a whole bunch of pitfalls and triggers that they're not even aware of. And that if this is something that we can help understand human nature, which is what storytelling is about, is sharing that, it's being able to have those tools set up in that space. Sorry, Thea, you were...
Oh, it's all right. I was just noticing that Los AU, I don't know if you're iOS or Los, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, says that everyone talks about session 0, but there's not many guides. And I think that's a really, really good point. It's like, you have to have a session 0. What does that entail? And I think it can be really different for everybody, and whether you do that as a one-on-one or a group.
The stuff you find on Reddit is just massive. So what I usually do is I'll just go on that, and I'll just go, okay, that's important. And I'll go, okay, so I really want to discuss tone, theme, gore level, language level, sex scenes, drug use, any of those high ticket things that could be a trigger for something. And Ian, you said it so perfectly. You don't know, some people don't know their own triggers because they haven't had it trigger them yet. So it doesn't matter what the trauma is. If it can be avoided, don't put it in your game. It doesn't matter. And it's so many people have this objection, because what I have seen out there is not so much on the session 0 side of things, but definitely would be involved in, is a PDF, which is a printout, and it's a bit in depth and a bit much, but there are like dozens of these boxes that you can tick and nominate to say, I don't want that involved in my game, and the GM and the players sign it. It's a little excessive, but use it. Again, you don't have to commit to something like this extreme if that's not for you, but don't say it's bad. Just consider it and just take it on board. And like, again, everything that you hear out there, take an opinion on board, see if it fits, and see what you like, and then get rid of what you don't. That's fine.
And I think Quinesta in chat makes a really
And
important
that's just
point.
role-playing games in
and,
general, am I right?
Sorry. Role playing, any kind of role playing, but it's not that kind of channel. Quinesta has just mentioned that things that you talk about in session 0 shouldn't just end at session 0, and I think that's a point that you don't often hear when people are talking about session 0s. It's like, yep, you set your boundaries, and we set what a no go kind of things for people.
Yep. And then we never stick to it.
Yeah, we don't. Sometimes
Session
that
0.
stuff can change. Well, I know, and I keep going back to some of
Are you playing anything broken?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
could think of some of my games, like stuff that's taken me as a GM off guard. Some of the players have done stuff, and I was like, oh, I didn't think that was a problem for me. Or stuff that's come up that hadn't even thought that could be possibly problematic for the players.
Like when they instantly neutralize your BBEG for some obscure reason because you gave them a coin that does something ridiculous at some point.
Are we working through some
magic
trauma?
item idea. Yeah, take
Do
this
we need to
coin
work through this as a group?
stuff.
And it's okay. Look,
I
what?
vote,
You're okay.
I vote that we talk about our favourite experience of that to wrap up this session today. I think that might be a good thing. So,
we are getting close to time. Yeah. You're actually right, House of Cthulhu. Sorry, just jumping back to chat, because that House of Cthulhu made an awesome point, saying that they go through the list of things that could potentially be triggering for Call of Cthulhu. And I think Call of Cthulhu as a horror game, I've played a couple of times, and that has potential, particularly with a group you don't know well, because you don't know.
So
you don't know who's
I have played it once.
Yep.
House of Cthulhu ran it for me.
Nice.
I was a YouTuber. Full circle.
Yep.
And because I had a camera, the shit he pulled that I could see, it was incredible. And that was many, many years ago. So, Bryce, good to see you. Or
House of Cthulhu.
Nice.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, it's funny too, because part of my background, the organization I run, basically role play experience to engage people in role playing games. There is having that ability to talk about so many different kinds of role playing games. I'm from a theatrical background. That's actually a big thing for me too. So this is the whole idea of being able to have role play, the value of that. There's something that you get when you're with a theater, even when it's live, and you have this with an audience. You may be doing the same show every night for a while, but no two shows are the same. And that you can't replicate in film or television because it's set. It's there, it's done. It's a bit like, in some ways, I think computer games are getting towards the live thing, but still there's something about being around a table or even on like Zooming, or basically like we've got on Discord. The live experience, you hit the nail on the head before, Jared. You said it's personal. It's unique. You also, like television and film, you can't get away with certain things. Like even like something R-rated for the sake of R-rated is not what I'm talking about. Really adult, interesting, intellectual things can be very confronting. But when it comes to television and film, it's set. There's a very particular thing. You can't change it. It's done. And so there's a certain, I don't think it's homogenization. I just think that there's a certain limit to what can be done with something that's recorded and that's out there for everyone. We all know if you go to the theater, similar to role playing, there's a certain leeway you have about what you're going to see. You'll see weirder things. You'll see things that you're not expecting. There'll be ways audience reacts that's different. And I think there's something about the tabletop experience and this role playing experience that there's a personal, that you can try weirder things. And because of that, and strange and horrifying potentially, confronting, or just out and out just ridiculous, like just stupidly ridiculous things that you can do. And every group that you have is going to be shaped by the personalities of that group and what their limits are. And we kept saying you never know what's going to trigger someone. And I think we unconsciously come into a group with a bit of an idea, but I think it's only, someone else actually mentioned in the chat, it's only been recently like that. It's actually been it's been articulated. We actually need to have checkboxes for this. What do you agree with? What don't you agree with? And I'm so glad actually that we articulated
have the option. That's all it is having options.
Yeah.
And that,
And
again,
do as many
what
or as
is
little as you want. Spend as
Yeah.
much or as little
exactly?
time on it as you want.
And then
Based on the
again,
group.
as we started with the whole crunch of what the product is and what is being published and what is out there is really a common language and a common set of rules that we agree on. And I
Yeah.
think Matt Koval has a video on it. I think it's literally titled "Language, Not Rules."
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Is yeah, we're playing. We're playing with ideas and things that can be dangerous, can be incredibly fun,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, just having the options, having the discussions about it, and making sure that there's just an awareness. Just the awareness is more than enough in some cases. And just like I said with Collecticon, I don't know what's going to happen at those 15 tables with 5 players per table
Yeah.
that are being out there, and in a public environment that's a one shot,
Yeah.
very very volatile, potentially crazy thing. And I've only heard terrible things that have unfortunately happened at conventions and the consequences of. And honestly, having heard both the DM and the players side of things, it was a misunderstanding. So yeah,
I think that's really
it's
interesting. Sorry, I didn't
it's
mean to
just an
cut you off.
unfortunate. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
was just going to say it's just an unfortunate thing that has happened,
Yeah.
and it's just I don't want the unheard voices to not have a tool,
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
For those that just go, I need this so bad, or like I want to play or I want to fit in so
Yeah.
bad that I will take the sly abuse or
Yeah.
slander or
Yeah.
the odd comment, even if it's not even directed at you. If there's behavior at a
Mm.
table or in a social group, you don't stay.
Mm.
But there's a strange thing that happens in a role-playing group where it's again, and it's kind of like in World of Warcraft raiding as well, is if you're part of a guild, you're part of a thing, you need to be there in order for the whole experience to happen.
Yeah.
And if you're not there, you're letting other people down. Why should you be a part of something and not be there? And now there's always exceptions to the rule. People have medical things. Life gets in the way. But I don't want people to have that mentality that if you aren't able to be there consistently, that you're not meaningful to the story or the group. It just means you're not there all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
make this story interesting. Fill
Yeah.
it out. Make it happen.
Yeah.
You make a really good
Don't worry
point.
about it.
Because I
Don't
think
worry about it.
there's such that social pressure that I think sometimes people can
That's
stay
horrible.
in like
Yeah.
RP tabletop groups that aren't healthy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of the forums and, lots of different Facebook groups, different groups where people tell horror stories or are asking for advice about what should I do. I'm not comfortable at this table, or from GMs. I'm not comfortable with where my game is going, or I feel that I can't meet my players' needs. And I think that there's people that want to talk about that stuff. And the guidance is from people who've been playing a while, or people that haven't been playing a while but have got really strong ideas. And
Strong opinions.
yeah, because this is something people get passionate about. We're passionate. We keep talking over each other because we're so passionate. It's like, my idea, hear what I say.
Can't contain it.
Yeah, I can't contain my enthusiasm. Let's go. But I think that's something that can really come across in gaming as well, as people are so enthusiastic. And sometimes there's that idea that I love this and this works for me, so this is the right way. I really like the idea of opening up dialogue about that, getting people in and discussing what works for you and making it okay to say this doesn't work for me, because that's hard, especially as a new player, especially as a new game GM. So, but it's interesting. Sorry, so we're just checking chat as well.
No, of course.
Yeah, well, that idea of having a safe space to just talk about, this is something that doesn't work for me. That's an important thing. It's just you may not feel safe in the group that you're in. To be able to say things like that, which is like, that's something.
It's horrible.
It's like you want to know that you feel like you're in a safe space. It was like setting this up, we actually had in the equivalent of a session 0, which is the same for any kind of project, really, is like, how do we want to go about this? But in this case, it was that idea of fun. As long as this is fun, we're going to keep doing this. And as long as there's a kind of like, we know we have things we can talk about, that's what's going to drive us to keep doing this.
I think
that idea.
Yeah, sorry, Ian.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Quinest has shared a really really great story talking about a player that set some boundaries, and then because they continued that conversation and there's trust grew in the group, that player now has changed those boundaries. And I think that ties into what something you were saying right at the start, Ian, about the personal growth and the development, and just being saved sometimes that role play can do. And I think that's part of the really beautiful, but it's also something that can take you completely off guard and be terrifying as well.
Yeah.
If you don't have tools that you all agree on to govern it, I think that's it. It's not like, again, it doesn't have to be as long as it doesn't have to be a constitution. It's like, it's something that you just have a few things say, hey, look, here's the baselines. We have respect, we have for each other. We don't bully each other. That's just not part of the place. And we support, if someone has an idea, let's go with it.
That.
And, support that and just see where it goes. And keep it as simple as that. There's something about the value of social engagement like this too, where you can set some rules up and then something happens in the game that is very unexpected and that kind of like, well, we don't have a rule for that. How does that work? And it's just, you work it out together and then it changes.
You make it work.
And it's okay. It's okay to change the rules to suit how you evolve, how your group evolves, how your beliefs evolve as well, and just how you work together. That's something I think our society could use a lot more of in general, that it's okay to change your mind, that it's okay to say, you know what, actually I'm okay with that now. Let's go here instead. Let's try it for a change and see where we go.
And I think House of Cthulhu is saying things along that lines as well.
Yeah,
there's so many ways. What I was
saying.
Sorry.
No,
we're fighting over chat. It's my chat's our chat.
Too much feedback. Too much.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But it's you're absolutely right. And you're right, guys. The group starts to build trust. I think it's interesting though, taking back to running one shots, because you'll have some people that will come into that with a lot of trust because they've played with one group and they're wanting to play something different, and then you'll get somebody with a very different idea about what they want out of this one shot and what they want to do. And that is probably not a topic for tonight, but something that we should definitely talk about is what happens in one shots, because I've run a lot of one shots.
It is funny. It's just talking about, there's one that we played with my most beloved group, and I hope you guys are out there, guys. The Knights of Fandelver. I hope you're there. But they, one of them came up to run a game as a one shot, which was the Honey Heist. If anyone knows it, it's a really fun one where everyone becomes a bear of a different kind, wears a different hat, has so few rules. It is the easiest thing to do, and it's literally a big heist, and it's just hilarious. It's a lot of fun. That's awesome. That's the kind of stuff that you can do, and it's just being really clear up front, guys. This is a fun heist, and yes, you may kill each other all in the end. None of you may survive, or all of you may survive. We don't know, but you will actually. It's going to get dangerous and dark. It's like, and it's like, okay, cool, we'll go with it. And however you set it up is fun, but just that joy of being able to get something out of a one shot and know that, okay, this is just one time, let's just have fun with it. Let's just play around with ideas. And there's kind of the shift on that is something you mentioned earlier, Jared, as well, about consequence. I adore role playing with long-term groups, the idea of consequence. Like, your actions here will have an effect now, but then maybe also ripple effects that are going to continue on that you've not even considered just yet. And that, because if we're happy to keep building this world and they're looking for the long term, and I think that's an important thing to discuss down the line, like, what's the level of game you want to play? What's the length of campaign you're playing? Is it something for 1 session, 5 sessions, a year, or is this something you're going to continue for as long as it goes? And that can have huge effects that they're not even aware of, which is kind of fun. I think that's fantastic. And if they're open to it, if that's something that the group is open to, when that thing comes in that you talked about 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden it appears and you're like, what the hell?
Oh, I already know. We've been playing for not even 6, probably not even 3 months, I don't think. I know exactly what's going to be like just random
Mm.
6 months, 7 months, 2 years from now. Who knows?
I'm
But
so
yeah, there's definitely certain things that you have to because they were such a success. You know, it's just market feedback.
yeah.
That's half of what I do as a DM. Market feedback with my players.
Oh, that's so
I
clinical.
read you you read the table, right? That's a better way to
Yeah.
put it.
Yeah.
You read the table, you
Read the
understand
table.
that there is
Yeah.
obviously things that are going to hit, things that are going to miss.
Yeah.
You know, and again, like just the tone and the general
Mm.
content, like, as we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But I also just wanted to bring it home with, as everyone's kind of been saying, House of Cthulhu and everyone there as well.
Mm.
Uh, there's live
Mm.
action role playing.
Yeah.
There's VR chat. There's so many other
Yeah.
interesting
Mm.
ways to approach this, and like,
Mm.
and then like you were saying, Ian, just the different length of games as well. You know that impacts how you game design. You know, from one shot, as you were mentioning,
Yeah.
Thea, to a
Mm.
multifaceted long campaign with consequences.
Yeah.
We've covered it all.
Yeah.
It's just exactly that. Is the way I summarize it all is there are as many ways to play as there are people who play,
Mm.
and each group with the same mix of players and the same DM can play two different campaigns in the same system with different characters, get a completely different tone and experience
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
But then you throw the nice option, and again, we're going to keep talking about options of other systems, and suddenly you can play something incredibly different. And then you're
Mm.
playing a
Mm.
horror, because again, even the way that the guys Free League designed the Alien roleplay system, it is the only
Mm.
product I have of theirs, and I'm disappointed that I know that I have that, but I need more.
That's where
They
you're going.
actually said that you can play it through. Yeah, I know that sounded negative.
It
I
did.
meant I
Yeah.
love
Mm.
Free League. I love your products. Alien Roleplay is a fantastic system that would be my first choice after Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you. They
Cheesy.
designed it in a way that you can run it three different tones because the Alien universe has
Yeah.
many facets to it. It is
Yeah.
not just the
Yeah.
original classic slow burning space horror that it was.
Mm.
It is an action shooter up. It is mixed with the Predator universe. It is a video game. It is a comic book. There is so many
Mm.
things. And then you have the modern, I can't remember the what they are now, but you have the space
Other
epics.
Prometheus kind of stuff.
The Prometheus, thank you. I'm like, I know
Yeah.
it's a P and I know there's a ship. The Prometheus, the Origins, the
Yep.
Black Goo, and like what all that means. There's a whole strange
Yeah.
universe there, and you can play the role playing system in the core published book in those three ways. And it's fantastically
Mm.
elegantly designed that way. When the space
Amazing.
horror kicks in and you have stress dice and they trigger reactions that you can't control, like you scream and everybody who hears you gains stress because of that, they've
Yep.
built that into the game.
That's
So you don't
amazing.
need to be like, oh, it's horrific and gory and
Mm.
like the chest burst. You don't need to do that because you
Yep.
can just go,
Yeah.
okay, the rules handle it, which is
Mm.
fantastic. And then if
That's
you want to
Yeah.
do space marines and you go around and shoot and
Yeah.
clear up aliens, there's that
yeah.
option. Or you can be mercenaries and explorers and
Yeah.
space miners,
Yeah.
all
Mm.
within one system.
Mm.
Mm.
I think we have to play this
So
game at some
you have
stage.
those options, and I think
Yeah.
D&D doesn't need to be just high medieval fantasy with insane magic, cool creatures, and all of those
Yeah.
wonderful things that we enjoy.
Yeah.
Play it how
Mm.
you want to and try something
Yeah.
different.
100%.
Um, and I'll just finally say, like you said, Theo, again so beautifully,
Mm.
with having that, being comfortable and actually learning to say what you need and
Mm.
want and feel and expect.
Yeah.
Say what you expect because it might not be what people understand. Let's just
Yeah.
add that. Same thing with
Mm.
what you want to
Mm.
play. What you want to play, what do you want? Because if you take a sailor and if you bring your sailor character who's really good at
Mm.
ships and water and stuff, and you go to a convention and you play a one-shot set in the desert, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to try real hard to have a good time. I
Yeah.
know so many people are like, challenge accepted, because they make things work,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
is that going to be an optimal experience for someone down the road? No. That's why
100%.
when we organize games for you wonderful people at Collecticon, we have a little bio, and it's so important. And I didn't understand it at first, but I don't handle the DMs. Paul and Amy, you guys do an amazing job. I did the sponsors, and
Paul and Amy.
I'm so excited. I'm just going to say it here on stream for those who are tuned in. You need to come to Collecticon because we have secured incredible sponsorship. I won't say who. You have to come to Collecticon to find out. Okay, yeah.
I think
Just
that's
come to
actually
Collecticon, yeah, because
is
we've
a really
secured
good
sponsorship
segue.
for this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, do we want to talk about this cool thing that we love and enjoy and like not sponsored because
Yeah, Collecticon is
okay, we got this
amazing.
cool shirt. Is
It's a
that
cool
does that mean
shirt.
we
Some of us have our cool
No,
shirt.
do you want to turn around and show the back? Yes, yes.
Oh, come on. Let's see.
Everyone, we're
Ooh,
based
that's
in Sydney.
perfect.
For those of
Yeah.
you who don't
Sydney?
know, we're based in Sydney, Australia, or I should say all around Sydney, Australia. And
Three quarters.
Collecticon, 3 corners around
Yeah.
Sydney. So yeah, we've locked it down.
Yeah.
And Collecticon is a Western Sydney-based convention set mainly between Penrith and Campbelltown. Our next one is on Sunday, the 12th of March,
If you were
and
based in
we
Sydney.
run games. Yeah, if you're in Western
Yeah.
Sydney, come on down, check it out. DMs have a T-shirt like
Yeah.
this, which is very nice.
And we're not just about advertising it, but we are all there. And I think what we wanted to do was talk about things that are exciting that are coming up for us. And this is an exciting thing that is coming up for us because, one, it's where we all met. Well, okay. Where I met these two amazing, beautiful human beings. And so I think that's the other thing is I think on this stream we're going to talk about some of the more serious things, but also we're all super excited about this game. We're all, well, not just this game, this type of game. We're so excited about roleplay. We're so excited about tabletop. So we are going to share some stuff. Quinn, come to Australia. I have a spare room. You can meet
Hello,
me in
New
Dock.
Zealand. Thank you, Quinn. Let us know where you're from, guys.
Oh, yeah, I was actually just typing, but I'll just quickly say, Quinn, fellow. Well, I'm half Kiwi. I'm half Kiwi, half South African. Born in South Africa, grew up here.
Nice.
I hope you and your family are safe over there because the North Island is just ridiculously wet right now. And yeah, my dad and my dad's side of the family are over there. So I hope everyone in New Zealand is happy and safe. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I didn't realise, but yeah, much love to our Kiwi cousins. But yeah.
Literally my Kiwi cousins.
Literally cousins, yeah. I will apologise if anyone heard the Dean dog barking in the background. He will occasionally make appearances. Oh, good, I'm glad.
Yes, we need to hear the dog.
But
So
yes,
welcome.
the Dean dog is kind of trying to pull me off my chair right now, which is what is explaining this rather odd move.
Hope he doesn't drag you away from us. That's all.
Oh, could never drag me away. Hello, Adotlin. Welcome. And
hello, Dublin from the US.
From the US.
US.
Awesome.
Wild.
Cool.
I have to ask Adotlin, how did you find us? We did what? When did we decide to do social media or any kind of promotion other than voice?
Oh, like tonight, like maybe
like 15 minutes before we went live.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Discord. Awesome.
Discord. Thank God for the international power that is Discord.
Cool.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things on this over the time.
Hey, speaking of Discord, we have a Discord.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
It's not. We will have a disc.
Are we inviting people at the moment?
We will. You know what? There's nothing. It's not. You know what? If you want in, you can have in. It's not finished. It's literally the default gaming template that gives you 2 voice channels and 2 text channels, and I've added 1 channel that wasn't the channel I meant to add. So come and join us for a lack of substance in the Discord. But no, that's my plan over the next week now that I've been able to do launch with our beautiful debut and premiere. I will be focusing on that and polishing that up, and I want everybody to be a part of that Discord. So if you're listening to this in the future, it's amazing. It's incredible. There are thousands and thousands of you, and I'm so grateful. So come on down. There's going to be heaps of different channels. Yeah, there's going to be heaps of channels because really, thank you everyone for the engagement in chat, but also really I want again, like we've so beautifully put, the conversation doesn't end when the session does, just like this conversation doesn't end when we turn off live. We're going to have this on all the places you will be able to download and listen or watch or do things with this after today, which is wonderful.
We have a YouTube.
But at the same time, we will have a YouTube, and we'll have we have a Twitter and an Instagram and all of that, and we will put digestible content for you to share and enjoy and things like that. So also please, create Twitch clips and do whatever whatever you guys like that you feel are important. And then if you really feel like you want to continue the conversation after, the goal is to actually have this hour of content where we just chat, we engage with the chat. We engage with the chat a little bit. But it's been incredible having these first conversations with you guys. And then we want to bring topics that we've researched or looked into or really feel passionate about, or ideas and cool content that we think you could, like tools that might help you in your games, and various things like that. We might do the odd random stream here and there, but for now, that's the focus for the first hour. And then we'll just hang out in the chat afterwards. And we may not always be here. We also may have more people, which is also exciting. I definitely have a bunch of people who would love to guest, and people who would rather not, but I'm going to make them. Because I love these people, and I want these people to have conversations that are important to them as well. And that's what I want I want everybody who wants to have a voice to be heard. That's kind of my goal.
If you are listening to this not live, very beautifully put. And now I'm going to jump in with the moddy stuff. If you do want to join the Discord, the link is in the chat. If you're watching this at a later date, the link will be available down below. I'm pointing down below because I know it's there. If you're looking on YouTube, the link will be down below as well. If there's ideas that you have, let us know. And I want to say hello to Equalist as one of our first chatters.
I don't know. I don't know who that is. Oh, what's up, Sim? My man. I just doxed you. No. I shouldn't have done that. Sorry, dude.
We'll edit that out in post. It's fine.
No,
where's
we'll
my dump button?
No one will ever know. No one will ever know.
But
there you go. There's the voice bite that you're going to put over and fix it. We will fix it. I promise. I do apologize.
But there's a lot exciting. So these two beautiful humans to my right are incredible. Sorry, that side. I can do mirrored video. It's not like I've done this before.
I put myself in the middle to make it easy for myself, not going to lie.
Yeah, I see. The person that sets it up makes it easy for themselves. I get it. It's fine, right? No, but this is going to grow. These two beautiful human beings have put a huge amount of work into it, are super, 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 super passionate. I know gamers are super passionate. If there's stuff that you want, let us know, because we are here for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
How do we want to wrap up? So we did kind of talk. We were going to talk for an hour. I know that we can talk for hours and hours. Do we want to look at wrapping up? Do we want to sort of share something cool that's coming up? And where do we go next, fearless leaders?
I mean, I think maybe we just chat like we're hanging out and stuffs. The show after the show. Welcome transition.
Hey, how often are we streaming? How often are we streaming, peeps?
Let's just talk about generally like where we're going to be and what we want to do and all that sort of stuff. But you know what? I think what we'll do is maybe a good thing to discuss, and we should probably do immediately, is a proper sign off for the VOD and the digestible content. And so, yes, you're probably listening to this for the VOD and digestible content for the first time, but thank you for firstly listening to our first episode and for tuning in this far. Absolutely. I think moving forward, check out our socials. Please reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts. Please be in the chat. We absolutely love talking to all of you tonight. I know that sounded really cheesy, but seriously, for our first broadcast, when we posted social media 15 minutes before we went live and barely told anyone,
short notice,
you guys are absolutely incredible. So ground zero, here we go. Any final thoughts, anyone else? Or
super excited.
Tune in next time.
It's been fun,
Let's keep talking.
I'm
really keen to.
I think that's actually a perfect sign off. Let's keep talking. Guys, we don't have a sign off screen.